This has led to a lot of international condemnation. The strikes targeted the Tafur military air base, which is also known as T4. Near home in Syria, the missile strikes comes after US and France vowed joint response to a suspected chemical attack in eastern Ghouta. Now, meanwhile, the United States has denied carrying out any missile strike on Syrian military facility. According to a Syrian military official, air defenses shot down 8 missiles fired at the base. Analysts say that the air base has a large deployment of Russian forces and jets who fly regular sorties to strike rebel-held areas. The air base is in a strategic desert area where Syria's main gas fields are located. The military airport has been under the control of Islamic State terror group until the Syrian army and its allies regained control last year after Russian military intervention. In April last year, the US fired at least 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles at Syria's Shahrat military air base after a chemical weapons attack Khan Sheikhoun in Idlib province. Reports suggest that UK is considering offering. Before I go on to this news, I am joined by my colleague Daniele Pagani on this from Newsroom. Daniele, it seems that the war against ISIS is almost over, but people who were fighting wars from different vantage points are now fighting each other.
Yes, this is actually not very new when it comes to Syria. All the belligerents, all the international parties of what has become the war of wars have always been fighting for their own personal purposes, for their own agendas. Regarding this last attack, we have obviously sketchy details. It will take a lot of time to understand who's behind it. Obviously, assessing who's behind this attack will change enormously the perspective. Now, Russia is saying that Israel might be behind this attack. I can say that as per the proofs we have right now, as per the evidence we have right now, this is not absolutely an impossible element. See, Israel has conducted as many as 100 airstrikes inside Syrian territory. The Israeli Defense Force never comment on any ongoing operation. What we know also is that inside the base there was an Iranian military presence in terms of human resources. It means there were Iranian either trainers or fighters. These we still do not know. So it is possible that Iran was partially in control of this base, which might have been the reason of Israel striking it. But again, let's be very clear, we are going by the details we are having, and this is analysis and speculations, not facts.
But if I have to ask this particular question in context of the base which was hit by missiles, why did it happen? A lot of, for example, the United States is saying that, they don't have anything to do with the missile attack, but there's a lot of speculation that the Israelis were behind it. What are your sources telling you?
The fact that the Israelis are behind this is a credible analysis. I'll explain you why. The United States of America had no reason whatsoever to hide such an attack, especially after Trump said that Assad would pay a very heavy price for what happened in Douma with the chemical attacks. It would have served the narrative of President Donald Trump as a, so to say, champion of democracy in West Asia to claim this attack if they were behind it. Whereas when it comes to Israel, they have been targeting Hezbollah militias, weapon warehouses, military premises where Iran has either control or at least have influence. So this base was at least partially controlled by Iran, or at least it had an Iranian presence, which is why Israel might be behind this attack. And again, Israel does not comment on any ongoing military operation in Syria. So we should not expect the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, to give out any statement on this.
And lastly, before I let go of you, Daniele, it's very obvious that the Americans want a regime change in Syria, but Assad is backed by Russians. What do you see possibility of the violent engagements which are taking place in Syria and those areas which it does not control to come to normal anytime soon?
Anytime soon, unfortunately, I would say no. I think the war is coming slowly to an end, but we cannot talk about short times. I cannot give you, unfortunately, a precise deadline, but there are many international actors, each of them has its personal agenda, so in order for the war to end, it will need a political agreement between all these factions will need to be very clearly put on paper, ink on paper, and it's very difficult because you can imagine we have Iran and Israel fighting against each other inside Syria. How do you make these two arch enemies agree? It seems an impossible task, and perhaps it is. So I don't see any time soon an end of at least the international confrontation inside Syrian borders.